And welcome on in to another episode of Getting Wild with Terry and Friends, NHL season preview show edition. I'm Terry, that's Ian, and we have a Rangers fan, Michael, joining us. Welcome.
What's
thanks
up,
for
guys?
coming.
Good to see you.
Maybe let everybody know a little bit about you. Obviously, you're a Rangers fan, but let everyone know a little bit about you.
Yeah, so I'm a Jersey guy, but I was born and raised in Jersey, lived in New York for a little while. Really got into sports at a young age. My family had Giants season tickets, and it was always Giants, Rangers, Yankees. So my grandfather got buried with a Yankees jacket on. I mean, we take sports to a different level, but at least the Rangers are finally giving me some good years. And I'm a season ticket holder, thankfully. I got tickets right before COVID, so it kind of worked out. And I bet on sports, and I ride New York as much as I can.
Awesome. Well, hey, I think you're gonna have fun at those games because you have an exciting team to watch.
Now it is. I got lucky with COVID because there was no fans and we were pretty bad. But I mean, it was a quick rebuild, for where they were a few years ago to where they are now. And I think that run is probably going to do so much. Was just beneficial for the future for them more than anything.
Yeah, for sure. Some rebuilds take a lot longer. You can look at the Buffalo Sabres as an example. Yeah. Well, we'll jump into the first segment, which is additions and subtractions, and just look at what the Rangers did in the offseason. So the main additions here was Halak, Louis Domingue, I guess your backup and a third string goaltender there. Vincent Trocheck, a great signing. Ryan Carpenter, I guess, for some depth there. Trocheck replacing Ryan Strome. Andrew Kopp also on the way out. Kevin Rooney, Frank Vetrano, and then Keith Kincaid and Alexander Georgiev all on their way out. Looks pretty an even offseason to me. Maybe the Rangers lost a little bit more than they added, but the Rangers still have young players in the lineup that I think will step up and take over in the leftover spots there. But goaltending, that's my only question mark. Obviously, the starting goaltender is no question mark. But looking at the backup and the third stringer there, Halak, I don't know how much confidence I have in Halak. We'll see how many games he plays. But Ian, we'll start with you first in this segment. What do you think here with the offseason changes for the Rangers?
Yeah, there's not really much to say. They didn't really need to do too much. I mean, we're talking about a team that had a deep playoff run last year. Two veteran goalies brought in to back up Shesterkin, obviously with Georgiev no longer there, with Halak and Domingue. I would assume that one of them is going to have to play in the American Hockey League next year because they're not going to carry three goaltenders at the beginning of the season. So it's really a battle between Halak and Domingue, who's going to be the backup to Shesterkin. Vincent Trocheck was a great signing simply because, look, they had to act quickly when they knew Andrew Kopp wasn't going to re-sign. You had to fill that void in that number 2 center spot. And boy, they did that with Vincent Trocheck and then some. A great player, offensively, good with face-offs, obviously has a good awareness away from the puck as well. This will help you in all areas of the game, which is what you need if you're going to take that final step and win a Stanley Cup. So perfect move to sign Trocheck, especially like, as I said, they lost Andrew Kopp, who signed with Detroit in the offseason. So it was a great job by Chris Drury, who's done a lot of good things the last year or so. I can't say enough about how Chris Drury has done as the general manager of this team. Ryan Carpenter, a depth piece. Like I say, you lose some center ice, a lot at center, so to jump to get Carpenter and Trocheck was important. When you see Kopp gone, when you see Ryan Strome gone to Anaheim, Kevin Rooney, a depth center, gone, Frank Vetrano as well, then they acted quickly. Now, do I like their depth at center this year? I mean, I still do. I mean, how can you not? Mika Zibanejad, Vincent Trocheck, Philip Hedl, who of course had a breakout performance in the postseason run last year, and Barclay Goodrow. I mean, you've got a pretty nice setup right now if you're the New York Rangers in terms of your center ice position, not only in terms of quality, but in terms of depth. So, they did what they had to do. They knew they were going to lose Strome, Kopp, Vetrano, guys like that, and they went to insulate and fill those holes, fill those voids at the center ice position. So job well done by New York.
All right. Michael, what do you think about the Rangers offseason?
I mean, I liked it. I think Trocheck was a perfect pickup. And, I mean, trust me, as a Ranger fan, and I sit right behind the away side net. So I'm down low, which is great. But all I have is that lasting image of Ryan Strome missing that wide open net. And till game one comes, I'll probably have it stuck in my mind. And it's disgusting. But we're glad he's gone. I can tell you this. There's a name that's not on either side. And I don't know if anything has happened with him, but a guy that we liked a lot as Ranger fans is Tyler Mott. I think he added a lot of penalty kill wise. I mean, he really played at the end of the year, but when he was in that lineup, he just had a little spark that I think they need. And whether he's gone or not, I think it's still pending. I don't know.
Useful player. He's a free agent still. Nobody signed him yet, so he's still available for someone.
Yeah. He had a spark. I mean, I think Drury did great at the deadline. I think he did good in free agency. And, a name that we've heard a lot here in Ranger world is Patty Kane. I don't know whether going to come at the deadline or something. That's some name that I hear brought up way too much. I know they don't have the room for it now, but I think come this next deadline, if they give Drury a reason to go get them some help, I think he will.
That would be interesting. To see Patrick Kane in a Rangers uniform, that would definitely be interesting. But we'll definitely see what happens. We'll go on to the next part of the show, and that is kind of looking at the cap situation, prospects, and upcoming free agents for the Rangers. And they have quite a few upcoming free agents coming here after this season. The list is here. The main ones, obviously, are RFAs, which is good news because the Rangers will be able to keep them, or should be able to keep them anyway. Philip Scheidel, Alexis Lafreniere, Julian Gauthier, Zachary Jones, K'Andre Miller, Libor Hajek, all upcoming free agents, RFAs. The guys who are UFAs, Ryan Reeves, Samuel Blais, Dryden Hunt, Ryan Carpenter, and Yaroslav Halak. I don't think losing any of those guys would be a detriment really to the team. So I don't think I think their focus will be on the RFAs for sure because there's a few names there. Obviously, Lafreniere, K'Andre Miller, and Philip Scheidel, three players that you're definitely going to want to keep on your team. Looking at cap situation, $1 million in cap space right now, so not really a lot of room for the Rangers at this moment. But we'll get to their roster here in a bit and look at potential lines. I don't really think they need too much help. And then prospects, definitely not one of the top prospect pools in the NHL. But I've heard a lot of good things about Brennan Othman, and I'm pretty high on Matthew Robertson. So it looks like they have a few good defensemen on the way. So defensemen and Igor Shesterkin. What else do you really need? Not really too much. I think the Rangers are pretty well set here going forward. Michael, we'll go to you first in this one. What do you think here about the upcoming free agents and the top prospects for your Rangers?
Yeah, I think the names that you pointed out, I mean, they got to really the names that they need to keep the most is probably Miller, Laffey, and Hedl. And a name that is a UFA that he was out last year for a big portion. We thought we might get him back in the playoffs is Sammy Blais. So hopefully we'll see what he does this year. I mean, he's going to get I would think he's going to be third, fourth line minutes, but he'll be on the starting roster. So hopefully he stays healthy. And we really, I could say this, the way that the playoff run went, he was the player I think that they missed a lot. I think Ryan Reeves, I like what he brings, but he's more of a liability at this point than anything. Thankfully he came to New York, but time for him to go. So, yeah, I think that, Keandre's part of the future. I can tell you this, if Heedle didn't have that playoff run, maybe it's a different conversation, but because we've been waiting for this guy to break out, and all of a sudden playoffs come, and this guy is, the kid line is our best line, which is incredible. But yeah, and then Laffy, he's still not there, but he showed a lot of promise through the year and the postseason. So I think they're in good shape. Thankfully, a lot of them are RFAs, and then the exciting thing is to see what Sammy could bring.
Yeah, for sure. Ian, what do you think about the Rangers' upcoming free agents and prospects?
It's difficult to be a team that expects to contend and also still has a very strong pipeline of prospects waiting in the wings. And the New York Rangers are very much that team. And look, a lot of their top best of the best prospects are already there when you look at it, with Lafreniere and Kakko and Philip Hedl, guys like that. And of course, Keandre Miller on the blue line, Lindgren as well. I mean, they're obviously Adam Fox, of course. I mean, they're already up with the team, but there's a lot more still waiting in the wings to get their shot in this prospect system. And it starts with those three defensemen that you see on the screen. And Nils Lundqvist, he's got a really good chance to make the team this year. He really does. He's going to, I think, get that opportunity in training camp, that if he impresses Gerard Gallant and the coaching staff enough, he might make that team and be a top six, or at the very least a seventh defenseman with the opening night roster for the New York Rangers. Great puck mover, sees the ice very well, crisp tape-to-tape passer, doesn't really panic under pressure when there's a forecheck on, really reads the plays well. There's a lot that they're liking about Nils Lundqvist. Zach Jones, another defenseman in the prospect pipeline that's getting a lot of praise right now. A little bit undersized, but he's got good mobility, puck skills. Another quick puck-moving defenseman as well, which is what you need these days to be successful in the NHL. Terry, you mentioned Matt Robertson. Yes, they like him quite a bit as well. The New York Rangers, kind of in that same mold, a little bit more physicality with him, but definitely another defenseman that they think could be a solid, sturdy, sound NHL defenseman for a long period of time. And keep your eye on Will Cooley. A breakout, not a breakout season, but a really good junior season for him this past year for the New York Rangers. And Will Cooley is a guy that I think is definitely showing the potential to make a transition to the NHL and be a physical presence that can, throw his weight around, but also chip in offensively, because I thought his offensive game, that rugged, get to the front of the net, find ways to score that way. That's kind of what you get from Will Cooley, who's also got an underrated shot. He's not just going to be one of those guys that just gets to the front of the net and knocks in the garbage all the time. He's going to be able to shoot the puck and be able to, with an underrated release, and be able to beat the goaltender that way from time to time as well. So you look at that five of prospects, and there's more than just those five as well, still waiting in the wings. Probably more depth players, the ones that aren't on that list, but this is still a very deep prospect pool that the New York Rangers have, which is impressive considering they're now kind of starting to transform and morph into a buyer's mode year in and year out now as they contend for a Stanley Cup. So the fact that they've still got a pretty strong chain of prospects with the team that from last year that was contending for the Cup, got to the conference final, very impressive. As far as the free agents go, restricted free agents like Alexis Lafreniere, like Philip Hedl, coming off the breakout playoff run that he had, are certainly going to be high priority. I think it's a big year too for Julien Gauthier. Can he continue to improve his game, making him someone that they'd say, hey, I'm restricted, but don't forget about me, and looking to re-sign me in the offseason. Ryan Reeves, I think, definitely is a situation where he could be gone from next year. Sammy Blake, can he stay healthy? I think, if he has another injury-riddled season, I don't think the Rangers are going to look toward bringing him back. Very important for him to stay healthy. Dryden Hunt, someone they'd want to bring back, but a very important season for him. I thought he was terrific in flashes last year. And then there were other times where it was just you couldn't find him with a telescope on the ice, the old Ian Cameron line. So Dryden Hunt needs a little bit more consistency. I certainly think in terms of the blue line, there's pressure on a guy like Libor Hayek, who you see on this list as a restricted free agent, that this is a guy that his spot on this top 6 defense is far from certain. You know, you've already got Keandre Miller. You've already got Ryan Lindgren, Adam Fox, Jacob Trouba, the new captain of the team. Braden Schneider, I think, showed you enough last year that he's going to be in the starting 6. So that leaves Libor Hayek and maybe Lundqvist or Jones or Robertson, one of these prospects, pushing for a spot. So pressure's on Libor Hayek a lot this year, and a potential contract year, at least from a restricted standpoint. So lots of good this is good problems for a head coach to have, like Gerard Gallant. He's going to have a lot of players that he'll be able to put in different positions. He's got lots of options, lots of choices, and that's good news for the New York Rangers. It's good news for Rangers fans.
Yeah, I think the key word is depth.
Yeah,
especially a defense. They definitely have a lot of depth. We'll go along and take a look at the possible lineup here that I came up with. Obviously, it probably won't be the exact starting lineup. There'll be different changes, but this is what I came up with for possible lineup. So I have Zibanejad, Panarin, and Kreider on the top line. Trocheck, Capocacco, Lafreniere, Goodrow, Hedel, and Samuel Blais. And then the fourth line, Carpenter, Reeves, Dryden, Hunt. But obviously, one of these other guys, Jimmy Vesey, VC is on a professional tryout. We'll have to see exactly how that plays out. But looking at the lineup, I see guys in their prime that we can count on to score. I see some young guys that are up and coming, and I see a very good lineup when you look at the forward group, and then the defense: Lindgren, Fox, Miller, Trouba, Lieber, Hedrick, and Schneider, Jones, and Lundqvist as well are possibilities. A lot of different things that the Rangers can do with defense. And then you have the guy, the in my opinion, best goaltender in the league, in Igor Shesterkin. Behind him, question marks. So if for some reason he gets injured, there'll definitely be some question marks with the goaltending. But the overall lineup is so strong that even when Shesterkin's not playing, I'll still find ways to back this Rangers team. One thing I want to say too, I guess a little bit early, is this guy, Adam Fox. Last year when the season started, I was hitting his assist props. I was cashing on them quite a bit. Books caught on and started to move it to the -140, -150 area. We'll see how the season starts, but definitely keep your eye on Adam Fox assist props. If they start the season at plus money, jump on them because he loves to assist all the time. So especially on the power play as well. Michael, we'll go to you first this time. What do you think about the lineup that I came up with? What changes would you make, and what do you think about the overall lineup?
I think it's pretty on point. I think that's probably what they're going to. I think when you get down to like the fourth line, it's going to be a handful of guys. I mean, all we keep hearing about is Brendan Ottman, so I don't know if he'll even. I still think they might take their time bringing him up, but I mean, like I said, other than the fourth line, I mean, defensively, I can tell you this: as Ranger fans, we are sick of seeing Libor on this team at this point. So, I mean, they've switched him on and off with Zach Jones.
So don't even give him the chance to compete for a spot. He's done as far as the Rangers fans are concerned.
Oh, I mean, if you saw him during the playoffs, I mean, I think he played the first 2-3 games, and it was the guy stayed in the box. So it's like. I mean, especially the fact he's on his way out, it's probably anyway. I don't see him bring him back. But like you said, he's got a lot of pressure to kind of turn it around. So maybe he'll surprise us. But, I mean, you saw the prospect pool. I mean, defensive, we've been hearing about it for years. That's where we're stacked. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, who would think that Trouba is our captain? We're thankful that he is. But, I mean, they just got to me, I mean, in the East itself, I mean, one of the strongest defensive 6. And then what they got coming down the pipeline is even, more impressive. So I think they're good defensively. I mean, Igor is great. I mean, I can tell you this, though. Georgiev, and and I know he went to Colorado, and this is about the Rangers, but he just didn't get enough ice time, and it's hard playing behind Igor, because I thought Georgiev was garbage a lot of last year, and he just didn't see the ice enough. When you play one every 7-8 games, it's hard. So if we don't have to see too much of that pork sausage eating Domingue and Halak, we'll be all right. So, but yeah, the lineup looks good. I mean, we love the question for me, and I'm sure you guys, because you guys speculate more on all teams, but we love Kreider, and we think he's going to at least hopefully get 30 this year. But it's like, are we going to be able to capitalize, or is he going to be able to get what he did last year with the 50 plus goals? Who knows? But I think the top 6 is strong, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do throughout the year.
For sure. Ian, what do you think about the Rangers lineup?
Yeah, the lineup to me is there's a lot of different tinkering that Gerard Gallant's going to be able to do with this lineup. Interchangeable parts, with Lafreniere, Kakko, Trocheck, Panarin, Zibanejad, Kreider, and Heedle's knocking on the door, of maybe jumping up, a spot. And that's the thing with the center depth they've got now as well. And keep in mind, Heedle can play wing too. So there's definitely some juggling that can be done. Like based on the center ice position, he slots in third. But, if there's an injury to his Zibanejad or there's an injury to Trocheck, man, can Heedle play top 2 center minutes? Of course he can. I think he showed you that with the rapid ascension he had in the playoffs last year. So there's a lot of good choices here as far as I'm concerned. I would definitely like to see, if possible, Lafreniere and Kakko be on the same line. That would be good. I know there's some depth charts that don't have them right now on the same line, but I think that would be great to see that. And especially playing alongside Trocheck, I think is a great fit. You got a veteran center, someone that can distribute the puck nicely, put it in areas, put it in spaces in the offensive zone, really do the work to get the puck free for Lafreniere and Kakko, for what we think are still players that, even though the consistency has not been there yet for them at the NHL level, they've still got great finishing ability. It's there. It's untapped. And I think Vincent Trocheck's one of those players. You play alongside him on the same line, you're going to be able to get some of that untapped potential out of Alexis Lafreniere, out of Kaapo Kakko, who, if anyone watched the Ice Guys last year, knows I went to war defending Alexis Lafreniere, and people saying he's a bust already, which was some of the most absurd nonsense that I think I've ever heard. Not giving him time. We can't all be Connor McDavid. We can't all be Austin Matthews right away. Sometimes it takes us some time to get the player up to a level that we want. And I think Lafreniere will get there. But I preach patience with that. And I think if you put Trocheck between Lafreniere and Kakko, it's going to do a world of good for both of those young players. That would be a great thing to see. Like I say, they've got a tremendous depth at the center ice position, and they've got players that are going to be chomping at the bit to play better this year, because I think consistency wasn't always there for them. You got Sammy Blake healthy again, wanting to show that I can make an impact again like I did in St. Louis. I think Dryden Hunt wants to prove that, hey, I need to be better for a span of an 82-game regular season than I was last year. And for a guy like Julien Gauthier, who might start the season for the New York Rangers maybe as a healthy scratch or a fourth-line player, this is a guy that's going to want to show that, I'm better than that. So you've got healthy competition throughout this forward group, which I think is phenomenal. The defense is loaded. Lindgren, Fox, Miller, Trouba, Schneider, Nils Lundqvist could very possibly start the year on this team, on this blue line. And I think Rangers fans, after what I just heard, wouldn't mind that over a guy like Libor Hayek. So don't rule that out, or one of the other defensive prospects they have. So, no, this lineup is set. And, of course, you've got Igor Shesterkin in net, and you'll be able to give him, a fair amount of nights off. He won't have to play 70 games or 80 games. You can, cut it back to 55, 60 regular season starts and give a very experienced goalie like a Jarl Halak or a Louis Domingue. Both of them are very experienced. Both of them are very capable on their best nights. Now, both of them also have really bad nights from time to time, but on their best nights, these are guys that can go in there and really spell Igor Shesterkin from time to time and play well enough for the New York Rangers, either Halak or Domingue. So really this lineup forward, the center ice depth's great. They've got competitions for ice time with so many of these forwards. The blue line is incredible depth. They've got one of the best goalies in the NHL in Shesterkin, and great veteran presence and depth behind him in a backup role. So there's a lot to like with the lineup. Start front to back.
For sure. I totally agree. And we'll go on to the last part of the show, which is looking at the last 5 years and the futures for the Rangers this year. And I said it on another show that there was a team coming up that had value to win the division. Pittsburgh and Carolina are both plus 250 to win the division. The Rangers are plus 350. I guess odds makers think that Pittsburgh and Carolina have a better shot at it. I'm not quite so sure. I think the Rangers could be a good look to win the division. Plus 2,000 to win the Stanley Cup. I'm not sure. Haven't got my Stanley Cup picks yet. There's still lots of time before that. I don't really look at a team before the season and bet that. That would be something I would bet closer after the All-Star break and closer to playoffs than before at the beginning of the season. But plus 2,000, not a bad price. To make the playoffs, minus 290, obviously, to make the playoffs. You can't really bet that. Plus 230 to miss the playoffs is not a good bet. I don't see this Rangers team missing the playoffs unless disaster was to strike. And then you look at the 99.5 point total. They got 110 last year. Do I think this team is going to step back 10 points? No, I don't. Do they pass 110? I'm not sure either, but I think they are a 100-point team. So I do like the over 99.5 points and a lean to the division plus 350. And then obviously looking at the previous years, for a rebuilding team, 34, 39, and 9, 32, 36, and 14, 27, 23, and 6. For non-playoff years, those are pretty good records. So luckily, Mike Lee didn't have to go through those Arizona Coyotes type years or what the Blackhawk fans are going to have to go through this year. So you were kind of spared from that. And the Rangers look like they're on their way to competing for the Cup. Ian, what do you think of the Rangers' last 5 years and their futures for this year?
The only thing I will bet the under with for the New York Rangers is that they will be under their number one position from last year as the number one profitable team in the National Hockey League to bet. Nobody made more money for their backers last year than the New York Rangers. They were the number one team in terms of units won in the National Hockey League during the regular season. Of course, 52-30 record plus 13.8 units of profit or $1,380. So that's the way it was. If you were a $100 bettor and you bet the New York Rangers every game last year, you made $1,380 with the New York Rangers. Number one in the NHL. The only team, the team closest to them, believe it or not, was Terry's Minnesota Wild at plus 9.09 units of profit last year. Number two in the NHL during the regular season. That's going to be the issue with the New York Rangers, just from a betting standpoint, from a game-to-game standpoint. Last year was that massive value year to bet the New York Rangers. This year now, coming off a conference finals appearance, nearly getting to the Stanley Cup final, odds makers are going to make adjustments in the power rating with the Rangers. They're now expected to be one of the top teams in the East. You're just not going to get that value with the Rangers with moneyline pricing this year like you did last year. So from a game-to-game standpoint, I'd certainly be cautious, and bet this team in spots that it makes sense to do so. Not obviously not game in and game out, obviously like last year. But in terms of the futures, which is what this is about, I mean, for me, it's a clean sweep of everything. I like the over 99.5 points. I don't see this team dropping 11 points or more from last year's 110-point season. Now, granted, I think there's going to be more of an onus on staying healthy in the regular season this year. It's going to be more of an onus on getting Igor Shesterkin some rest during the regular season this upcoming season. I don't think there's that full-on push necessarily to, let's really go after the division and win it. We'd like to win it, but will we survive? Will we live if we don't win the division? I think we will, because we're thinking of the big picture, and that's raising the cup in June. So there's definitely some concern with that. But even if they're not fully invested in winning the division or just matching the 110 points, I certainly think they're at least a 100-point team. I certainly think they've still got a great chance to win the division, especially when you see the price plus 350, especially when you look at they're playing in the weaker of the two divisions in the Eastern Conference, top to bottom. I definitely think, and I've said this before, I think the Atlantic Division, top to bottom, is tougher this year than the Metropolitan Division. The Metro Division's got questions, in my opinion, after Carolina and the Rangers. Every other team is flawed, in my opinion, has got some sort of issue with it. Pittsburgh's getting older at this point. Same thing with Washington. I don't love their D or their goaltending. The Islanders have had all kinds of problems, a nightmare offseason. They didn't improve the team at all, and goal scoring is still a concern there. Columbus, they brought in Johnny Gaudreau. Can they get saves? Can the defense step up? They'll score. But what about that defense? New Jersey, same thing. They'll score, but where's their defense and goaltending? I think everything's wrong with Philadelphia. So, every team in that division outside of Carolina and the Rangers has flaws, which means that even if the Rangers are pacing themselves throughout the regular season, not going full gusto, if you will, for the division, they could still win it because they're just that talented and that deep at so many different positions. And they still have one of the best goalies going, even if they only play him for 60, 65 games and they give the Halak-Domingue duo the rest of them. They could still, easily be a 100-point team and still have a decent chance to win this division. So I still like over 99.5 points. I still like them to win the division plus 350. It's worth a bet at that price, no question about it, because I think Carolina is their scariest competition. And after that, I'm not sure there's anyone else in this division that is as good as the New York Rangers. And then, of course, obviously to win the East and win the Cup, you have to bet that. At least I do, because I think this is a team that's going to be right there at the end. And I took them in their Cup futures last year, and they gave me one hell of a ride to win the East and to win the Cup at obviously better prices than what you're getting for this year. But obviously, I'm coming right back to them. I think that highly of this team. They made a great hire prior to last year with Gerard Gallant. You look at just the incredible improvement they made in just 1 year with Gerard Gallant, just 1 year. And look at how way ahead of schedule he's got this New York Rangers team. So nothing but good things for me with the New York Rangers in terms of their outlook. So, yeah, over the point total, win the division, win the conference, win the Cup. We're on all of that with the Rangers.
There you go. Michael, what do you think about your team's last 5 years and their futures for this year?
Well, other than last year, the last few years haven't been great. But, for the betting markets, future-wise, like Ian just said, it's a two-dog race, I think, in that division all year. And that for me as a fan, it's like they got to have the confidence now that, hey, last year was unknown. We didn't, even as fans, we were not expecting the playoffs. So there's a Ranger fan here who told you they, bet the future knowing they would hit, that, they're out of their mind. Ian was smart enough to see value, and it was Ranger fans didn't even make that bet. So I respect that. But I think, like I said, future-wise, I can't see them going down 11 points. I think the point total, I understand why the books are setting at 99, but I can tell you this, from betting the Rangers a ton last year, I already know going into this year's the books are going to adjust. So like Ian said, game to game, it's not going to be nearly as valuable. It's just got to be smart where you pick and choose their spots, the right matchups against the better teams. That's really where I cleaned up last year a lot was, you were getting ridiculous lines when they would go against teams like the Lightning, who they were regular season wise undefeated against, but we're not going to see as much of a variance, on the plus money for those matchups. But yeah, future wise, the plus 2,000, you got to roll something. I think at this point, division wise, you might as well take Carolina and the Rangers and call it a day, because one of them cashing, you would think. But it's hockey and anything could happen. So but outside of that, I think I think this too, within like the first 15, 20, 25 games, we're going to be able to tell pretty quickly where this team is as a whole. If they really, if that run really did what we're hoping it did as fans, I think we're going to have a pretty good idea quickly that, we're headed in the right direction. But I think you could clean up on the futures this year. I can't see them falling 11 points, but I would think hopefully they're back to 110 and sky's the limit come playoff time.
For sure. Well, that's it. That is the Rangers show. Thanks for coming, Michael. It's awesome
Of
to
course,
have
thanks
you.
for having me.
Good
No
stuff,
problem.
Michael. Terry, as always. Yep.
Yeah. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the content, smash the like button. Appreciate all the support. And no NHL show tomorrow because we'll be doing the NFL betting show. But we'll be back Thursday to go over the Washington Capitals. So make sure to tune into that and have a good one, guys.
Thanks, guys.